All right, today we are going to talk about exactly how to find A team players for your boutique agency. And this is such an important concept. The reason being, most people assume that it takes significant amount of work and a lot to manage a team in order to really have an agency model. And this couldn't be further from the truth. And when you look for A team players, not B team, not C team, when you look for A team players that are ready to help you build a legacy, build a global brand, and rally behind what you are doing, the management piece becomes significantly less. I should never say non existent, but significantly less taxing. Because when you bring on A team players, you have people that are rallied behind what you're doing. You have people that are invested in the mission, the vision, the execution. And most importantly, you have people that are ready to fulfill your core values. So let's talk about A team players and why this is so important. Well, really, this whole philosophy comes down to quality over quantity. Most people think they need a huge team. And I even see bragging rights now when you have all these different team members on your team. It's become the next big thing. But the issue is when we start thinking about quantity of team members, the more people you have, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if they're A team players, but the more people you have, the more profit that needs to come in. The more people that are coming on, the more people that you have to pay taxes on. If they're employees, for contractors, the more people to go through. And, I see this so often happen as bragging rights and people saying, I have this team of 30. And that's so good for you. But the question is, what are they doing in your business? Are all 30 of these people A team players? And if they are, amazing, good for that company, for the vision. Of course, in large companies, we see this all the time. But I see it a lot in the online space where it's like, oh, I've got this contractor and this videographer and this show notes editor. And a lot of them are contractors and they're not invested. And hear me when I say there's a time and place to hire contractors. Again, when you're looking for a specialist role, and I've talked about this before, so go check the previous episode. But the concern becomes when you're wanting to build a team of A team players that are quality and invested in what you are doing, that means that keyword investment and then that influence needs to be intact. And so, what is an A team player? An A team player is someone that fits your culture, that aligns with your core values and what it is your company does. An A team player is somebody that really is a self starter. They are someone that is motivated, someone that is hungry and ready to go and take action when it comes to your business. An A team player is someone that will take initiative, right? When you think of an A team player, these are people that are going to be your MVPs on your team. And when you are small, it is so critical to have these A team players. And it's funny when you really look for quality, most people when they're hiring are looking at the very bottom and they hire backwards, meaning when they're building and looking for team members, they're trying to figure out how can I get the cheapest person possible, the most entry level position to train them. When in reality, this actually stagnates growth because you want to look at your business the opposite way, meaning that you actually would really do well if you considered hiring from the top up. And what I mean by that is when you look for those leadership positions, when you look for those higher level, high caliber, and they don't necessarily have to be leaders, right? You could hire an A team player to come into an administrative assistant role. But what I mean is hire people with the ability and the skill set of those high capacity leaders, higher quality, because they will help grow with you and propel your organization where it needs to be. We've done this and it has completely transformed the way the business looks when you bring in that high caliber leaders that are ready to go above and beyond to rally behind the vision. Okay, so now that you know what an A team player is, let's talk about B team players or even bench people. Okay, when you're small, when you're building an agency for the first time, just one person that could be a B team or a C team or a bench player can greatly impact the culture and the dynamic of the team, even if it's just you and one other person. If this person is here and you need them to be here and you're small, chances are there's going to be some tension there. I'll give you an example. When we've brought on different team members, I've had one specific incident comes to mind, and it was somebody that we brought on, and their culture and their behavior and their work ethic was not at the caliber that the rest of the team was. And so even with a team of 5 or 6 in office, that was very evident when we had one person that wanted to go home and that wasn't working as rigorously as everyone else. And so it really hurt the morale of the team, because here we have somebody that's wanting to leave early when everyone else comes in early and stays late. It makes other people question, well, why can't I leave early? Or, well, why does this person get special treatment? And so it wasn't an alignment. Another example being if they don't match your culture or core values. For us, one of our values is that we want, if you don't want to be friends with the people that you work with and you wouldn't be comfortable to go get a beer, a glass of wine with them, or hang out outside of, then that's the kind of relationships that we have. And it's not a cultural alignment. That's not an A team player for us. Might be for someone else, but the key is, okay, how do you determine what an 18 player is for your organization, and how do you bring those people in? So that's another factor to consider. And so when I say a B team or a bench player, ultimately it is not enough to bring someone into your organization just to fulfill a job or a scope of work, especially when you're small and building a boutique agency, because that will trickle across. Think of whenever you've been at a party or you've been in a group of people and you have like this super great friend group, right? Think of your group of best friends that you hang out with, that you and your kids hang out together, or you go over to each other's houses, right? And then someone is like, oh, I really want Susie Q to get better connected. She's new to the neighborhood. And she comes and complete opposite personality, which sometimes is fine, but doesn't have any of the same interests, doesn't watch any of the same shows, doesn't care to know any of the same people, and just kind of sits there. Kind of makes for a tense rest of your evening when you're hanging out with friends, right? And then they want to leave early, and you feel slighted because you wanted to hang out, and here you are thinking you're going to have this great time with all of your friends, when in reality it's just like this tension point because maybe you don't get along with that person and it just feels awkward. That's the kind of culture shift that can happen when you bring on B team or bench players. The other factor to consider too is, again, and this comes over culture and caliber than it does competency in some cases. In some cases, an A-team player may be somebody that you bring in at a lower salary because they don't have the competency. But if they have the natural skills and the natural talent to be able to come in and execute at a high level because they're a cultural fit and because they work hard and they're the first one and the last one out, then that type of quality person may be a good fit for your organization. And so what good is this massive team if they're making you bleed and your margins are bleeding and they're not executing? A lot of people assume, oh, I just need to fix that with another hire. But the reality is, and a surefire way to check this is that if you're looking at your books or you're looking at the way that your team is functioning and you're bringing in sales and you are not retaining clients, or your clients aren't happy, or stuff isn't getting done and you're still having to watch people do it, right? These are kind of some signs to look for that maybe I do have people that are riding the bench and I'm in the field playing all these positions and I need to get the team up to speed. So sometimes it's a leadership issue, but a lot of times it's because we've hired B team, C team, or bench players. And I have difficult news for you. So whether you've made your first hire or you've been contemplating it, hopefully this video will save you some effort there. But sometimes as your organization grows and people don't go with it, people that are on the bench need to be cut. And that is hard. That is one of the hardest things that you will ever have to do as a business owner. But when you see yourself as the captain of the ship and you're looking at overall for the people on your team currently and what makes the most sense, you have to steer and guide the whole ship or it will maybe not make it to its destination. And though it's hard to come to that place, hiring these 18 players will hopefully allow you to avoid that in the first place. And so I love what the book Traction says about this. You want to hire people first. And we may or may not always, we can have the right person and sometimes they can be in the wrong seat. Now, sometimes there is a transition that happens, and if they're in the right person in the wrong seat and just you're in a spot and budget is tight and not enough of those seats are opening up, and sometimes that does lead to a hard decision. But most of the time, if you have the right people, they're willing to rally around your strengths, their strengths, the company's strengths, and make it through to the other side. And so when it comes to finding these people, everyone's like, well, how do I find these unicorns? Where are these A team players at? How can I specifically locate them? And the key is infusing your culture into your job postings and your job ops. And in the process, even if it is bringing on a contractor that's going to have a really close working relationship with the team. I know for us, one thing that guides everything we do is our core values, and we break those into fun sayings. And anytime we post a job description, we usually kind of hint and leave breadcrumbs about who's a good fit for our company and who isn't. Because in reality, this really, really allows us to sift through who's going to be a good fit and who's not. I'm trying to find them for you right now so I can lead them off. One that I've heard, for example, one that we've said is, we are a team. You're the kind of person that when you played a sport and you saw somebody that was on the ground, you wouldn't just keep running past them to make a goal. You would stop to help them. We also say that, you were the kind of person, we're self-starters here and we're always over-prepared, that you went back to school shopping usually a week or two early because you wanted to get all the supplies before all the good stuff was gone. And we say things too for B team players and things that are not our culture. We say one of those things there. If you use the word plug and chug in your vocabulary and you just want to get things done and leave, you're not a good fit to work here, because we rally behind one another. If someone's behind or behind deadlines, we do that. We say things too. One thing that's not tolerated in our culture is scarcity. And so one of our values is that you are too afraid to donate your clothes because you're scared of letting go of things that no longer fit, or even if they no longer fit. Meaning that if you're afraid to let go of things in the way that things were, and you're afraid to get rid of the old to make space for the new, it goes against our core values and you're not in alignment here. And so when I look for quality A team players, even when they're interns, I can tell you this: we have had a standout intern. I'm so sad that she's in school now, but 17 years old when she was here for a year. And she outshined somebody that was not in alignment with where our team was going, that had a really in-depth and really good education. And, that intern was more of an 18 player than the person that we brought on, because she was in alignment with our culture. She was able to rally behind us and she integrated really, really well. And when you have these quality people, when you have these A-team players, it allows you the freedom to not have to manage things. You're not managing people because you are leading a team that is self-sufficient and rally behind what it is you are doing. And so my encouragement to you is, you're bracing to remember and to let go of this idea that building a team has to be hard all the time. I should say all the time, because building a team is hard. Okay. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it's simple and that it's easy. I should say that it is simple, not easy. There's a distinction between those two words. And when you're building a team, there's going to always be new challenges, but at the end of the day, if you have the vision to think about where your business could be, or 2 years or 5 years, if you had 18 players rallying behind you and you think about what it is that you do want out of your life and business, I would beg to argue that there's going to be some alignment there. All right, that's all I have to share with you for this episode. I'm so excited to see how it goes. And so be sure to be on the lookout for the next A team player to join your team.